Hey folks, we are back with a fireside chat, the title of which is Lorebuilding, how to build your community through storytelling. So we have Keely and DeFi Dave. Thank you.
How's it going?
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Keely, how's it going? Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
We made it out of LA.
I know, just barely. Hi, everyone. I'm Keely. I joined crypto in 2018. My background is in PR and communications, which lends itself to storytelling and lore building. And I'm excited to be here today. Dave, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, how's it going, everybody? My name's DeFi Dave. I've been in crypto for 8.5 years. I've done everything from marketing to business development. And something I've learned in my time in crypto is how to tell stories and why do certain stories click with people? Why are people emotionally resonant with them? And this is how I came up with lore building.
Awesome. So to kick things off, what led you to develop the idea of lore building?
Yeah, so being in crypto for almost 9 years, you see a lot of things. You see bull markets, you see bear markets, you see builders and founders rise and fall. But at the end of the day, you wonder, why do some founders hit the jackpot? Why do some projects really resonate with people? And it's because as humans, we interpret and we perceive the world through stories, through symbols, and that's how we derive meaning in our lives and what we identify with. And so between being in crypto for 9 years and my personal background, like in college I studied history, philosophy, political science, and wondering how do we get here? And even that question, how do we get here, it requires a story. And so that's how the background of it. And what really sparks it was ETHDenver last year. Honestly, for me, ETHDenver last year was such a bust. I was so depressing, and I was asking people why. And I had this one conversation after with my friend Jing Tao. And he was talking about we need better storytellers. Ethereum needs better storytellers. And I'm like, how can we motivate the next generation of storytellers? And this is how I developed this idea of lore building, which became an article last year, which went viral on Twitter, got over 150,000 views, and really sparked this conversation around it.
And given the current market, why does it feel especially important right now to lean into lore building?
Yeah, because right now everyone's so fucking depressed, honestly. So to motivate people again, we need to, what is the next story that will really capture people? How can we motivate those people to tell those stories? And right now it's a little bit of a lull, but you know what? It's not going to be a lull forever, and new people are going to step in and shine new light.
Love that. With that being said, what is your actual definition of lore building?
Yeah, so lore building to me is being able to cultivate this living narrative. And it's not really a top-down thing. It's not a leader saying, hey, this is the story. It's no, it's the community. They feel inclined and motivated enough to build this story together. And they begin to identify with the story. It becomes part of their identity. So it's more than just a thing that they look at. It's a thing that becomes a part of them, so much so that they act upon to co-create.
What does it look like in action? Can you give us an example of what lore building actually
looks like?
Yeah,
so obviously I think the first example of lore building in crypto is Satoshi. He was the Genesis lore builder. And you look at the historical context that he developed Bitcoin in, it was in, post-collapse of 2008, the Great Recession. You even you see it in the first Genesis block, second bailout on the brink. And Satoshi, he really planted the seeds. I want everybody to think of lore builders as a steward, of a gardener. He planted the seeds, and he wrote the Bitcoin white paper. He started the Bitcoin forum, but he was really the antenna that attracted and sent out a frequency that attracted that early community. Those people on the edges, on the fringes, whether they were cypherpunks, whether they were just nerds, whether they were people that aren't really on the forefront of society. They were but they became zealots of it. He really attracted a religious community in the beginning that it wouldn't have survived without the community. And they began to co-create with Satoshi. They built the first memes, the first lore. And lore building doesn't have to be some big action. It can be as small as creating the HODL meme. It could be as small as not your keys, not your coins. But these things permeate. These things have meaning, and these things become symbols and have weight and gain weight over time.
And you mentioned community. What role do lore builders play in building community?
Yeah, so lore builder, like Satoshi was the first lore builder, but there are other ones that come after him. You need, like, I think it was Jefferson said, like, the tree of liberty needs to be soaked with the blood of patriots from time to time. You can kind of take that with lore builders too. Then the garden needs to be watered from time to time. And I think you see this especially in Ethereum. So Vitalik was the first lore builder of Ethereum. He actually gives credence to Satoshi because in Ethereum's first block is the same thing of Genesis, of the Genesis block quote. But in Ethereum, there's different generations of lore builders. So you had, the first people like building the infra, and you had like Joe Lubin with Consensus, and then you had years later DeFi Summer and that class of lore builders building this mythos around DeFi, and like, oh, we're going to take on the big banks. And then you had like NFTs in the art world, and you had a lot of excitement happening on Ethereum. And you had a lot of people motivated to build on Ethereum because the stories were so poignant and so present. You had people leading those stories. So lore builder and so those are. It's really important for lore builders to keep that lore line going.
Love it. And so, as you've developed this concept, how do communities move from the attention phase to building emotional connection, and then to real participation and action?
Yeah. So I say the 3 stages of lore building are attention, feeling, and action. So attention is you just you look at something, you may like read it. Read a tweet or watch a video and you start to form an opinion, but it's not really very strong yet. Feeling is when you actually have an emotional connection to an idea, whether you're for something or against something. It's very important. It's even being against something is very important, and it's good for people to be against you. That's why I say like FUD is good, because that means you're building a community of insiders and true believers. And then action is when people actually like feel motivated enough to actually co-create the story with you. And like I said, it could be as big, like small as like creating a meme, or as big as like starting meetups, and like just the most important thing is just to show up and show action.
I love it. Pivoting a little bit, people often conflate PR with marketing and storytelling and marketing. How is lore building different from marketing in your opinion?
So marketing is not lore building. Marketing and growth hacking optimizes for metrics, they optimize for numbers, but lore building itself is an inefficient process. Its value is intangible. I like to say something like, if lore building is gardening, then growth hacking and marketing is factory farming. So it's lore building takes time. It's a inefficient process, but it's through that inefficiency that your community coalesces and develops. In the same way that in cryptography, it takes like time for a cryptographic cipher to be secure enough. It takes time for a community to develop. It takes time for like people to really believe in. It just doesn't happen overnight. These stories, these rituals, these connections, they're formed over time. And so, yeah.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time.
Yeah.
All good things take time.
Definitely. What are some common traits of lore builders?
Yeah, so I think lore builders are inherently intuitive to both the historical context that they exist in, and also to their community around them. They understand their place in the present moment and where they came from and where they see things going. And also they understand the type of community they want to build and the people in their community, and they can just feel it. They just have a sense of a curation of like where the community should go. They're inherently selfless. They view the lore as bigger than themselves, and that they're basically a note on a grand symphony of the lore playing. So they see themselves, bigger than themselves.
Yeah, I have this thought that EQ is the new IQ. So I
EQ is the new IQ.
Yeah.
Especially when IQ is just, I don't know, going as.
Yeah. What is something that is actionable that people can do to start lore building today if they're interested in?
Yeah,
diving into lore
so
building?
I think the simplest thing lore builders can do if you're like looking to build your community is a simple A/B test. See things like what works, what doesn't work. Just put stuff out there, whether it's memes, whether it's just fun things. Like I'll give you an example. Is like my cherry blossom shirt. They're like, Dave, like, why do you always wear cherry blossoms? And I'm like, well, for years I've been going to these conferences. I've been wearing like funky shirts like this. I'm really into vaporwave nostalgia, and even before crypto, this was my sense of fashion. And out of like all the things I wore, the cherry blossom stuck out. They're like, oh, Arizona iced tea, DeFi day. People actually got mad at me when I didn't wear my cherry blossoms. And I was like, okay, there's something here, especially because I'm into stablecoins. I work on CAP. I've worked on stablecoins in the past. And I'm like, wait, stablecoins $1, Arizona iced tea 99 cents. So I just like doubled down on that. And I just, I wear it everywhere. I wear cherry blossoms everywhere. Hell, I have like cherry blossoms on my arm. I really put it on my sleeve, no pun intended. And so that's another thing. Like when you see a meme that hits in your community, you double down on it, you triple down on it. Another example is like one of the things I started with a friend was ETH Bushwick. We just started that as a joke for fun. And somebody in the community started SIGs Inside. And I noticed how much that really hit with people, so I just like doubled down, tripled down on it. It became like a rallying cry. And I even made hats and stuff for it. So double, triple down on things that work.
I love that lore. Thank
Yeah.
you, Dave, and thank you everyone for joining.
Wait, we have
appreciate
like 5 minutes.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I
Yeah.
didn't see that.
We have. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah,
I'm
let's do some
down to
questions.
rant more. I think I will always have a soft spot for DeFi Summer. When that started to come up, it was for me personally. Like when on my first job, I was in charge of exchange listings, and I had to deal with the bullshit of centralized exchanges and the process of like trying to get listed. And then when I saw DeFi pop up and how effortless it was to like create a Uniswap pair, I like clicked with me like, oh my god, like I can see DeFi. That was just like one thing. I can see it taking off, and it seemed people really rallied around this idea of like, oh, like this we can like actually grow an alternative system and like build an alternative system. It was just a lot of fun in those early days of DeFi Summer. And obviously, I think things we see what works. It's an era of experimentation. What works, what doesn't work, and we mature as a space. And here we are. DeFi, I think, is like one, if not like the most proven use case of crypto today. And now we have the institutions coming on chain, and we have new lore builders coming.
Is that why you chose the name DeFi, Dave?
Oh, so I chose the name DeFi Dave because back in July 2020, I was like driving around the country, and I've been writing my whole life. And so I was writing a new thread about DeFi. I was like, fuck it, I'll change my Twitter name to DeFi Dave. But here's like another thing. It's not just, but yes, I made the name I created the name DeFi Dave, but it's other people that solidified it and other people that, grew to have like some connection to an identity with it and doubled down on it. So like you guys made the name DeFi Dave as much as myself.
Love it.
Yeah, and I'll make like another important point with like the different generations of lore builders that come in to build community. So early on, you have like Satoshi, and you had like different generations, and then you have like I think like a recent example of this is Michael Saylor. He was the lore builder for Bitcoin on Wall Street. He spoke Wall Street in TradFi's language. He was able to put it in terms and understands really created in a story that TradFi could understand, and that's why he was so successful. And I wrote my lore building article and cited him. And a few months later, you had Tom Lee with BitMine come along and become the lore builder, the Wall Street lore builder for Ethereum, and I felt really validated on my thesis about that.
You're on point.
Yeah. You got any other questions? I can keep ranting. Yes. Oh, can you speak louder? Yeah, I think obviously Bitcoin, Ethereum, early Chainlink, Solana. I think Ripple, honestly. Like anybody that's been able to build this like a rabid community that people have some emotional connection to, they've done a good job. And so I'm trying to think of other examples. Yeah, early Chainlink. Yeah. There's a few. I don't want to say all of them because like it's the ones that like do well and like it's interesting to think about the ones that do well. I guess yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, are there any projects that could be doing better?
I think we all can be doing better, to be honest. I think a lot of projects right now are they're just building products, but they're not really telling a story about their products. There's this great framework that was developed by this guy named Patrick Hanley called the Primal Branding, and he talks about how the brands that do well create a story about their brands that their consumers identify with, like whether it's like Nike or McDonald's or whatnot. And he talks about like the primal code of primal branding. So it comes down to the origin story, like the creation story, like how did it come about, the creed, the icons, the rituals, the other. There's 7 of them, but all these different elements that he talks about in the primal code is they all are elements of a story. And so if you're looking to look more into the lore building framework, definitely look into that primal branding. And also, like I said earlier about like this theory of self-determination. What makes I sent you this video before about RuneScape. Like, why is RuneScape so popular after 25 years? It's because these players they feel a sense of autonomy and agency within the game. They're able to like advance in the game with their competence, and they have a sense of relatedness to each other. Like, did you know in RuneScape they actually vote on like if they want an upgrade or not to a game? And so there's this like inherent sense of like co-creation within RuneScape where it's not the developers building for the game. For the game, it's like them co-creating with its players. So that it's like more of a sense of we than a sense of other.
I loved RuneScape growing up.
Yeah,
It was the best.
I think we all played RuneScape. Any more questions? I got one more thing.
Yeah.
I think religion's really good at this idea of lore, explaining and showing this idea of lore building. Like, obviously in Christianity you have Jesus, but would Jesus be without like Peter and Paul? I mean, Peter was like became the first pope, and Paul he was once a doubter and then became an evangelist, and he like spread it all across the old Roman Empire. So lore building is a concept much bigger, much older than crypto, and will be here far beyond crypto. So
Much bigger than us.
much bigger than
I
us.
love that.
We're all just part of the story.
Yes.
It's just, yeah.
Thank you, Dave. I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Keely.
Thank you, everyone.